$1.28 and €1.19. LBC weather, snow continuing to clear, leaving more scattered wintry showers for Scotland, parts of the north of England and Northern Ireland. Most of the rest of England and Wales, clearer skies and icy patches, a low of 1 degree. From Global's newsroom for LBC, I'm Holly Jones.
This is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation. The Nigel Farage Show.
Mr. Nigel Farage.
Thank you, Donald, and good evening, everybody. And we'll talk a bit tonight about Donald Trump's reaction to the Tyson Fury win over the weekend in the USA. We'll also talk about the coronavirus outbreak in Italy, which has worsened considerably over the course of the last 48 hours, and breaking news in New York. Within the last hour, Harvey Weinstein has been convicted of rape and sexual assault against 2 women. However, he was not found guilty on the most serious charge, which could have led to a life sentence. We'll go to the courtroom in New York to get the news on that. But first, if you're a member of the Labour Party, you can vote for your next leader starting today. The result will come on the 4th of April. And by far and away, the man who's out in front and looks like he's going to win is Sir Keir Starmer. And this morning, I think it's very interesting this morning, he was asked whether he would, at the next general election, campaign for freedom of movement under a Norway-style agreement.
Well, we'll have to see what the situation is in 2024. Johnson has made a lot of promises about the deal he'll get. We'll have to see what it looks like. My argument that we should be economically close to the EU is based on what many businesses have said to me across the United Kingdom. I've
Labour,
been
the party of business.
talking to them for the best part of 3.5 years. And almost every business of any size that deals with Europe says, don't make it harder for us to trade. I mean, it's as simple as that.
There you are. There is Keir Starmer, and it shows you how far the Labour Party's gone from the days of Keir Hardie, because the Labour Party used to be for the workers. Now it's for big businesses, the big corporates. And, of course, they want freedom of movement to continue for as long as possible and to be extended to as much of the world as they can. You know why? Because they want cheap labour. That is where Keir Starmer has put himself. So he's not absolutely committing to going for a Norway-style deal with free movement, but he's saying he will listen to businesses. He's also vowed to remove salary thresholds for the UK's immigration system. And remember last week, Priti Patel outlining her plans, saying, you've got to earn £25,600 to come into the country. Starmer would get rid of that. Now, immigration has not been as big an issue in the last couple of years as it was in the run-up to 2016, when without doubt it was the number one issue in British politics. But it does still matter. And if this man is going to win this leadership contest, which looks very likely, has he today, by leaving the door open for Labour being a party of free movement, has he made himself more electable or less electable? Let me know on 0345 6060 973. You can text to 84850. You can tweet using the hashtag Farage and LBC at LBC. And of course, those of you watching us on Twitter, Facebook and YouTube, you can comment too. I have to say, for my money, a Labour Party that in effect wants to reverse the result of the referendum is away with the fairies. They might make themselves very popular in parts of North London, but in those constituencies that they lost to the Conservative Party at the last election, parts of Wales, the Midlands, the north of England, they are not going to get those voters back with a pledge like this. And I think Starmer has made himself pretty much unelectable, almost refusing to accept that the referendum has happened, that ending free movement was a key part of it, and easy to portray. And interestingly, Rebecca Long-Bailey today talked about the support for Starmer being corporate. Very easy, I think, for Starmer to be portrayed as being in the pocket, in the hands of big business. Hi Nigel, I would say Keir Starmer has made himself unelectable, says BB by text. Let's go to a regular caller, Lawrence in Colchester. Lawrence, good evening.
Sir Nigel, can you hear me?
I certainly can. Nice to speak to you again. So,
And you, fella, and you. Oh, it's just laughable, Nigel. I just got up, right, mate? I've just had an operation. I've had a new knee fitted 6 weeks ago. I always listen to you, as you know. I've got to ring Nigel. Is this a joke?
no, it's not a joke. No, it's not. It really isn't.
Oh, God, they're deluded. I tell you what, they want to be drug tested, mate, to see if they're all on drugs. Do you know that?
But they believe, Lawrence, they believe in, that we're all citizens of the world.
Really? Well, I know we've got the international NHS at the moment. I just see that when I was in hospital having a new knee, but that's another story. I'm putting that forward to my MP and talking to him about it. But Nigel, they are just a joke. They will not be elected for at least 20-odd years, I tell you that now, if they're going down that same road.
Right.
And I hope they're not, to be honest with you.
Well, I mean, the one thing for certain is we want to have a fully functioning, active opposition party in the House of Commons that can challenge the government. And, yeah, my concern is he goes down a route like this and we lose all credibility. Lawrence, good luck with your recovery. Thank you for the call. Martin in Loughborough is a new caller. Good evening, Martin.
Good evening, Nigel. Nice to speak to you at long last.
Yeah, welcome. So, Sir Keir is going to keep the door open to free movement along a Norway-style deal. Is that sensible?
No, it's not sensible at all. And the problem with Labour in the run-up to the general election in December was they never wanted to honour the referendum. And a lot of people I know in Loughborough, it used to be a Labour seat, it's a Tory seat now for the last couple of terms, they voted on immigration. We don't mind immigration, you're not against immigration, but it's got to be capped and it's got to be, like now what Boris is doing with the points-based system and things like that.
So Labour just out of touch with their own people and in your opinion, Martin, not going to win back Loughborough with a policy like this?
No. I remember when I was a kid and there was a general election round here on the council estates and it'd be vote Labour everywhere. This last one, everyone went Tory. Brexit Party stood down in Loughborough, so everyone went Tory, because they'd honour the referendum and they'd get tough on immigration and tough on serious crimes.
And that's what people want?
That's what the ordinary working people want. And the problem with the Labour Party and their London elite down there, they've distanced themselves from the working class, I believe.
Do you know what? I think that is absolutely right. Martin, thank you very much indeed for your call. Less electable, says Henry in Bodmin on Twitter. But Nigel, if businesses fail, the employees lose their jobs. It's so simple to understand, says Vanda. Yeah, sure. But, the point we're making is that actually turning the UK into a low-wage economy hasn't benefited anybody apart from those big businesses. It doesn't matter who wins the Labour leadership race, they are all uninspiring and have learnt nothing from the election result. Starmer is out of touch. Do you know, this uninspiring point, he was asked today, Keir Starmer, had he done some exciting things in his life? And he said, yeah, taking the kids to football. Now, look, taking the kids to football is great. I was lucky enough to go to Twickenham yesterday. That was very exciting. But if that's the most exciting thing in your life, it does suggest you may be a bit of a dull boy. Let us go to Scott in Hampshire, a new caller. Scott, good evening.
Hello, Nigel.
Welcome. So, Scott, so far, everyone thinks it makes him less electable. But there are people out there who thought freedom of movement was a good thing.
Yeah, I do. I work in healthcare, which is an industry that's heavily reliant on overseas workers. And to be quite frank, those earning under 25k not being able to come and work here, I think it puts an already under strain industry, but under even more strain. And I just think Keir Starmer, in terms of wanting to get rid of the under 25k, putting that Priti Patel's put forward, I think is a good thing for the industry.
Scott, is there not an argument that maybe people in the industry should be paid better?
Absolutely. Totally agree with you, Nigel. But that's not going to happen for a long time. And unfortunately, it's always been an underfunded industry. Private healthcare, it is quite affluential in terms of the type of people that they have living there. However, those that can't afford private healthcare, especially those that are elderly and have to go and live in a care home or a nursing home, the fees are astronomical for them.
Yes, that is true. And I kind of get that, Scott. And if wages do go up for all sorts of jobs, then prices go up too. And I do understand that, Scott. But I mean, what would, in your business, what would, say somebody working 40 hours a week in a care home,
Yep.
what would they earn roughly?
Do you mean hourly rate or an annual
hourly
salary?
rate. Yeah, hourly rate.
Really depends where they're working, anywhere between £8.50 to £9.50 an hour.
Right, okay. So the argument then, to get them up to 25,000 a year, it would need to go up at least 30%, wouldn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, well, I'll tell you what, Scott, if we genuinely don't have enough people to work in care homes, all right, then the government can issue work permits. We don't need to go the route Starmer's going down and have freedom of movement, do we?
But would they issue work permits with the uproar from Brexit and the last?
Yeah, I think
however
actually
many years of chaos we've had.
I think they probably would. If there was a genuine shortage, a genuine crisis of people working in care homes, I think as a short-term remedy, they would issue more work permits. I really, really do. I don't think, Scott, you need freedom of movement to solve that problem. But hey, maybe we agree to disagree. I thank you very much indeed for your call. Leslie on Facebook says they've lost touch and don't know who they're supposed to be representing. Yes, they do. They're representing people in Islington. It's perfectly clear. Robert says, come back in 10 years, Labour. They may come back in 10 years, but I'm not... a lot depends, of course, on how the Conservatives do. They may make an awful mess of it. That is possible. Nigel, I doubt many outside the Islington bubble could even care less who wins the Labour leadership. You may be right, and if you are, that's a very bad thing for our democracy. It is now 6:15. It's LBC. Time for the news headlines with Holly Jones.
Harvey Weinstein has been convicted of sexual assault and rape at his trial in New York. The 67-year-old former film producer was found not guilty of 3 other charges. The World Health Organization's warning countries must prepare for a potential coronavirus pandemic. Police in Germany say they believe a car was intentionally driven into a crowd of people watching a carnival procession, injuring dozens, including children. LBC weather, snow continuing to clear, leaving more scattered wintry showers for Scotland, parts of the north of England and Northern Ireland. Most of the rest of England and Wales, clearer skies and icy patches, a low of 1 degree.
LBC Travel, I'm J. Louise Knight, and anti-clockwise on the M25. It's still struggling from junction 2 at the A2 to the Dartford tunnels following an accident earlier. That's also left delays out of town on the A2 from the Black Prince interchange. It's very slow anti-clockwise from 7 at the M23 through the roadworks to Clackett Lane services. And the A13 is stop-start out of town from the Canning Town flyover to the Lodge Avenue flyover. That in turn is causing southbound queues on the North Circular from the Ilford flyover. As for the tube, just minor delays on the whole of the Bakerloo line after the strike earlier, and on the trains, Thameslink aren't stopping at Cricklewood because of a points failure, and a signal failure means there are 15-minute delays on South Eastern services from Charing Cross to London Bridge.
This is LBC.
Looking for a new car? With the new Mercedes-Benz online showroom, you can search and compare every new car in stock today. Why not start with all the cars with space for the kids and their stuff? Then pick out something sporty that makes you go, wow. So you like the A-Class? Select all those that fit your budget, then look through the latest offers. And before you know it, you've found the one A-Class that's right for you. Search Mercedes-Benz online showroom today.
You're just the one I've been looking for. This is LBC.
Will the retirement you get be the retirement you want? Check your state pension and see how you can build on it with a workplace or other pension. Get to know your pension at yourpension.gov.uk.
You could save money on your energy bills when you auto-switch with one of Bounce's carefully selected suppliers. Go to switchwithbounce.com.
Global Player.
Radio, playlists and podcasts.
Where it's all together and all for free.
Whatever your mood, whatever you're doing and wherever you're going.
Global Player. Download it from your App Store for free now.
Could the owner of a Santa Santorini Black all-electric Jaguar I-Pace, winner of World Car of the Year, World Green Car of the Year, World Car Design of the Year, and 68 other industry awards, parked in South Terminal Long Stay, Area G. Please give yourself a big pat on the back. That's a stunning car.
The all-electric Jaguar I-Pace. Electric never looked so good. Search Jaguar I-Pace.
If you can build that flat-pack wardrobe without looking at the instructions, you've still got it. If you can manage 5 keepy uppies on your first go, you've without question still got it. If you can toss a pancake to the ceiling and not let it hit the floor, surely you've still got it. And if you can just about fit into those jeans you bought 5 years ago, you've definitely still got it. Brute, still got it.
Hi, Eddie. Hi, Sid. You know why you're here, right?
Oh, yes. Introducing a new generation to the comedy of Little and Large.
I always knew we were due a comeback.
That's great, guys. So just read the script.
Hi, I'm Sid Little.
And I'm Eddie Large. Specsavers are doing a large sale.
On little hearing aids.
Is that it?
Yeah. Great, thanks.
God, we missed our Pilates class for this.
Save up to £400 on selected little hearing aids in the large hearing aid sale at Specsavers. Offer ends 29th of February.
This is LBC, the Nigel Farage Show, live from New York. Call 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Tweet at LBC using the hashtag Farage on LBC.
Within the last hour, in the New York Supreme Court, we've had the verdict on the Harvey Weinstein trial, something that has dominated global news for month after month. I'm going to go straight there now to William Denslow, LBC's reporter. William, talk us through the verdict, please.
Well, Nigel, Harvey Weinstein has been convicted of rape in the 3rd degree. Those charges relate to accusations brought by former actress Jessica Mann, accusations dating back to 2013. He's also been found guilty of sexual assault in the 1st degree. Those charges and those accusations brought by a former production assistant, Nini Haley, dating back to 2006. However, a major takeaway here at court is that Harvey Weinstein has been found not guilty of predatory sexual assault. Those, of course, are seen as the most serious charges, brought with them the possibility of life behind bars. Now, we have heard from Cyrus Vance, who's the district attorney here in New York, who described the accusers as heroic. He also said that this trial and the broader Me Too movement that has stemmed from it has changed the course of history. Let's have a listen.
Dawn Dunning, Miriam Haley, Jessica Mann, Annabella Shora, Tara-Leigh Wolfe, Lauren Young, Megan Hast, Joan Iluzzi-Orbon. 8 women who have changed the course of history in the fight against sexual violence. These are 8 women who pulled our justice system into the 21st century by declaring that rape is rape and sexual assault is sexual assault no matter what.
And it's important to add that this isn't by any means the end of the road when it comes to Harvey Weinstein's legal battles. He faces similar but unrelated charges in Los Angeles relating to different women who accuse him of sexual assault and rape. And what we now expect here in New York's case is for Harvey Weinstein to face sentencing on March 11th for the charges he's been found guilty of here in New York. He faces between 5 to 25 years behind bars.
OK, William, thank you very much indeed. Well, that's unfinished, and it represents an amazing fall from grace from Harvey Weinstein, one of the most powerful men in Hollywood, and it is, I guess, a victory for the Me Too movement. Back to the Labour movement. The movement that started off being the party for the worker in the days of Keir Hardie, and now we're possibly heading into the days of Keir Starmer, when it would appear that big business employers matter more than workers. And I really can't for the life of me think that contemplating a return to freedom of movement does anything other than make him unelectable at the next general election. That's my view. Let's go to Doncaster, very, very important part of this debate, and speak to Alistair, a new caller. Alistair, good evening.
Evening, Nigel.
So it is places like Doncaster, isn't it, where, you know, traditional Labour voters have been falling out of love with the Labour Party.
Well, I don't know. I actually live in a village outside Doncaster. But I mean, I was ringing to say that I have a personal kind of issue with this in terms of the news generally. That I suffer from depression, and what kind of makes me very unhappy and sometimes makes me unwell is the constant doing down of immigrants who, after all, aren't to blame, as we know, for all the ills of this country at all. But it's the big bankers that bankrupted the world in 2008. And I just wanted to say that as far as Keir's policy of freedom of movement, if it could just get this sort of right-wing media to change the topic, change the discussion, then you actually might get the immigrants might get a fairer crack of the whip. Nigel.
Alistair, this is not right-wing media. This is very clear, mainstream, majority view in this country. It is the issue more than any other, in fact, that has damaged the Labour Party, that has led to the Brexit vote, and it's because, far from being wanting to do immigrants down, we are the most tolerant country in the whole of Europe when it comes to immigration and immigrants. And and Alistair, we ran this from the 1940s up until the millennium with net roughly 30,000 people a year coming into Britain, and it worked pretty well. When it went to 300,000 a year and was seen to be totally out of control, people simply said enough. And what they want, Alistair, is to have control over it. What on earth is wrong with that?
Well, I think the Labour Party admitted that they made a mistake, didn't they, when they didn't, ask for the transition rules to come in. And I agree that caused bad feeling with some people. And it affected me from a work position because I was a social worker having to find accommodation for some of those in the 90s. But I think that the debate should move on now because, as you may gather, from my viewpoint, I mean, I'm not particularly happy with Boris Johnson and Dominic Cummings in charge.
But they are. And that's the result of a free and fair election, Alistair, isn't it?
Well, it may be. But you were right what you said a couple of minutes back when you said that we do need
an opposition,
a proper opposition.
Alistair, I want one. Look, I just think that even hinting we're going back to freedom of movement is not going to help him. Alistair, I thank you for your call. Chris on Facebook says Labour do not appeal to the working class anymore. They've turned their backs on their roots. They're now paying the price because they want to be woke lefties. Well, I think a lot of us do feel like that. Let's go to Eastbourne and speak to Sean. Sean, good evening to you.
Yeah, good evening, Nigel.
So, is he more electable or less so?
As a Labour member, and I plan to vote for him for the leader.
Yes.
As members, we all got these lovely leaflets from him last week, having his pledges and whatnot. And for me, I think what he's come out with today is all smoke and mirrors to get the Labour members that wanted to stay in the EU. I believe he's just saying that as a bit of a soundbite to ensure their vote in the leadership contest.
So just lie to people to get votes. Is that what you mean?
Well,
I think it is.
I suppose in
I think
in
it
a
is
nutshell,
pandering, isn't it?
I don't believe he really wants to have that. I just think that he's saying it because maybe you've got the rise of Lisa Nandy in particular that, well, in my opinion, I think she's overtaken Long Bailey as his nearest challenger now. And, from my local party and the other ones I know, it appears that she's a real threat to him now. So I think he's just said this to ensure he gets enough votes to become leader.
Well, Sean, I mean, I'd rather prefer people to be a bit more straightforward than that myself. But let me ask you something else. As a Labour Party member that's going to vote in this, when he says, the basic premise that you don't want to make it more difficult for businesses seems to me to be so blindingly obvious that we should take their advice. I mean, am I making a fair point that this Keir, unlike the previous one, is actually here to represent big business and not the workers?
I think I think there's a degree in that. I think if you've seen what he said for a long time, he appears to have changed in recent weeks, especially since he was the first one on the ballot paper and got all the votes from the MPs. I think he's definitely changed tack from where he was going from originally, and I suppose we'll have to wait and see if he becomes leader. But
he's got your vote, Sean, has he?
Yeah, but I think quite a lot of people think it's between him and Long Bailey. But I will watch out for Lisa Nandy, because people I spoke to, I believe she may become the leader with her views and her policies.
Yeah, now, I was amazed, Sean, that Lisa Nandy was suggesting that, and this is all to do with the transgender row. I mean, there she was yesterday doing a big interview on television, a 14-minute interview, 6 minutes of which were on whether people should be kicked out of the Labour Party because they might be deemed by her to be transphobic. I mean, isn't this just going down a rat hole? Isn't this just going so far away from what the public want to talk about that it's not true?
Yeah, I agree. I think it is. I mean, I don't know about you, but I think whoever becomes the leader has definitely got a hard choice of winning the next election.
Yes.
But the Labour Party need to become united, and I think in the past, it's not just Brexit that's made them fragment, it's just Jeremy Corbyn's policies. I believe we should have a leader that wants to unite not just Labour voters, but other party voters that are anti-Boris. And I don't think rejoining the EU or anything should be even spoke about. I think it's got to be the things like social justices, and I think the leader should focus on that, not even mention the EU, because as we all know, we've left it now, and I don't see any point unless speaking about rejoining.
And that's the problem with what Starmer was suggesting, that we sort of half go back to a Norway type deal. Sean, thank you very much indeed for your call. This is the Nigel Farage Show. It is now 6:30 and time for the news with Holly Jones.
Harvey Weinstein has been found guilty of rape and sexual assault against 2 women at his trial in New York. His acquittal on 3 other charges could have sent him to prison for life. The former film executive's downfall has been the focus of the Me Too allegations. It's understood 7 people are now known to have died from coronavirus in Italy. Experts have raised concern following a rapid spread of infection in countries including Italy, South Korea and Iran. Police in Germany say they believe a car was intentionally driven into a crowd of people, leaving dozens injured, including children. It happened at a carnival procession in Volksmarsen this afternoon. A man's been arrested. LBC weather, snow continuing to clear, leaving more scattered wintry showers for Scotland, parts of the north of England and Northern Ireland. Most of the rest of England and Wales, clearer skies and icy patches, a low of 1 degree.
Nick Ferrari at breakfast, weekday mornings from 7.
Security Minister Conservative MP James Brokenshire, who joins me. Would you be happy to eat acid-washed chicken?
As we approach these trade discussions with the US or the EU, that we're not going to compromise on the high standards that we maintain, so you and I can be confident in the food that we eat.
Nick Ferrari at breakfast.
With Xero. Get your business digital ready with Xero accounting software.
LBC.
If you've ever had to get out of your car on the side of a motorway, you'll know how it feels. Just imagine what it's like to be working on the motorway. So please, drive carefully, follow the signs, stick to the speed limit, stay in the correct lane, and keep a safe distance from the car in front. People working on our roads are making them safe for all of us. Keep the roads safe for them. Highways England, connecting the country.
We got it at Selco. Selco, it's where the trade goes.
We're permanently screwing down our prices on everyday building essentials. We've lowered prices on our best-selling lines across Unifix, Spax and Vortex screws, copper and Speedfit plumbing fittings, electrical cable and more. See selcobw.com for details. Selco, serving the trade for 125 years.
We got it at Selco. Selco, it's where the trade goes.
You can always trust that song about a little shark to get the kids in the bath. But all it takes is a bit of faulty plumbing to set off the bedtime waterworks. Thankfully, at trustedtrader.com, you can hunt out plenty of vetted, reviewed, reliable professionals in an abundance of trades. Like a plumber who'll rescue bath time. And just like that, it's safe to go back in the water.
TrustedTrader.com.
If you started your own furniture store today, you might not call it Fishpools. But if it was $18.99 and your name was Ernest Fishpool, well, it actually was. And he actually did. These days, Fishpools in Waltham Cross is one of the largest furniture stores in the southeast, with a stunning range of on-trend designs. There's up to 50% off in our winter sale, but only until Sunday. See it all in-store and at fishpools.co.uk. That's a website, Ernest?
You know what it's like when you can't find your debit card? Panic. That's what it's like. Until you realise, as a Halifax Visa debit card holder, that you can freeze your card on the spot. Control your Halifax Visa debit card with the Halifax mobile app. Easy as.
You can only freeze certain transaction types. Terms and conditions apply.
Let's get this right, sir. You didn't see three men dressed as clowns take off in a van with a Renaissance painting because you were distracted by, and I quote, a sporty red compact SUV with a bold mesh grille, a sculpted bonnet with sweeping roofline on diamond-cut alloys.
And beautiful rear haunches.
So, you saw a Jaguar E-Pace. But what about the clowns?
What clowns?
Jaguar E-Pace, designed to steal attention. Search Jaguar E-Pace.
The Nigel Farage Show, live from New York, only on LBC.
The World Health Organization is warning the world must prepare for a potential coronavirus pandemic. More than 77,000 cases have now been declared in China, where the virus started. But today there's been a lot more focus on Italy. And joining me is LBC's Nick Codling. Nick, what is happening in Italy?
Well, Nigel, Italy has now seen more than 160 confirmed cases, which makes it the largest outbreak in Europe. Now, authorities there have been setting up roadblocks and calling off football matches and closing big tourist attractions and putting around 50,000 people in quarantine there. Now, experts are worried, and the World Health Organization in particular are concerned that we're heading towards a pandemic status, as not only Italy but South Korea and Iran have also seen big spikes recently. Now, Diego recently returned from the affected region in Italy to the UK, where people, including his family, are currently in isolation.
My nephew is not going to school, is staying home for 14 days. My brother is not taking public transport if he has to go to work, so it's keeping, it's going to be driving if he has to. My mother, my sister-in-law, they all stay in the house. They're not moving out.
Now, in the Middle East, Iran are also reporting an increasing number of cases, with officials confirming 12 deaths in the country and 47 cases confirmed, according to their state broadcaster. South Korea, as I also mentioned, they've got 833 cases, so a huge spike in that country, mainly in the city of Daegu, which is the country's fourth largest city there. But authorities are concerned as there's been reports of cases in the country's capital, Seoul, too. So the concern is obviously that it's spreading throughout the country and they may see more cases there. Now, as you mentioned, the total number of cases worldwide, 79,000, but 77,000 of that number are in China. So there's still that country remaining the epicenter of this outbreak. Now, the World Health Organization has spoken today about China's actions in trying to contain the coronavirus. Dr. Bruce Aylward has praised their efforts.
What they've done has only been possible because of a tremendous collective commitment and will of the Chinese people, from the most bottom-level community leaders we met and talked to the governors at the very top. It was an extraordinary, what we call all of government, all of society approach that many of you are feeling because you live here and you operate in this. But it is rare to see that.
Nick, tell me, what is a pandemic? We keep hearing this word, and I sense that very few people know what it actually means.
That's right. Well, it's an interesting one. It's a status that can be declared by the World Health Organization, and the definition of it is essentially a disease that is spread to several countries and has shown to sustain transmission between humans. Now, that cancer might be a disease that would fit that definition, but the important thing for a pandemic is it has to be an infectious infectious disease to receive that particular classification. Now, the World Health Organization do believe that we're heading potentially for a pandemic, and essentially what that means is that they'll be advising governments to take preventative measures like handing out medical supplies and protective equipment to their citizens to try and limit the spread of coronavirus, of COVID-19 as it's become to be known. Now, just finally, here in the UK, the number of cases still stands at 13, and all of those have been linked to China, so they've been traced back to originating from that country. So Downing Street again insisting that the UK is well prepared to deal with any outbreaks should we see any here, and the risk to the individuals in the country remains low.
Splendid. Nick, thank you very much indeed. Well, clearly Italy now becoming quite a problem. Let us get back to our main topic of debate tonight. Sir Keir Starmer contemplating putting freedom of movement back in Labour's manifesto for the next general election. Has he made himself more electable or unelectable? I think the latter. What does Ian in Newport think? Good evening to you.
Oh, good evening, Nigel. Thank you very much for getting Brexit over the line, by the way.
Thank you.
I think all these three candidates are delusional. As long as they've got their ideas and policies, they'll never get into power again. I mean, I've watched some of the debates, and they're obsessed by this gender fluid policies, and I actually saw Nisa Landy on the debate the other night saying that if there was a guy who identified as a woman and was convicted, she would send this guy into a women's prison.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's absolutely you almost,
ridiculous.
Ian, I mean, you almost can't believe it, can you?
Oh, it's crazy. They won't get into power as long as they've got those same people in leading, or what. They've got to get somebody else with a bit of nous, because I'm calling them the wokeness party because they're not the Labour Party. They're just full of wokeness.
Yep, and that's very popular, Ian, in some of the big cities, but it's not popular elsewhere. Ian, thank you for your point of view. I have to say I don't disagree with you. I find the transgender row they're having quite extraordinary, and I thought, in fact, Tony Blair, when he said last week, if we're discussing transgender issues and the right are discussing immigration controls, only one party wins. And I think Tony Blair was absolutely right about that. Martin in Romsey says to me, with this proposal of his, I have to wonder whether Starmer is taking Labour voters in the North for granted or simply ignoring their concerns. Has he forgotten what happened the last time a leader took their supporters for granted? Theresa May, hint, hint. Very good. Let's go to Lisa in Northampton, a new caller. Lisa, good evening.
Hello, Nigel. Fantastic to speak to you. Well done for all your hard work so far.
Well, thank you, and welcome to the programme. So, Lisa, free movement of people, and I've had somebody on tonight involved in the sort of care home industry who thinks maybe it's a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
What say you?
Oh, it's crazy. It's Labour gone mad. I don't recognise what Labour is supposed to be standing for, because it's not honouring democracy, what people vote for, what I voted for, many people voted for. Like, we're supposed to be moving into a new era. They're trying to plunge us back. Since even Tony Blair, and it's just crazy. All the years and years of chaos need to be undone, and they just want to go straight back to the chaos again.
Why, Lisa? You got any idea why?
I'm not sure. To be honest, I think it's just an easy way out. The brownie points theories such as those, just to try and just palm it off on someone else or try and get votes from somewhere else, rather than open up us as a global economy, a global powerhouse, rather than just an EU powerhouse.
Yeah, I think, and also, the point that was made earlier from our caller from Eastbourne, as a Labour Party member, is that unless Starmer says these things, the membership might not vote for him. So he might be trying to get their votes and then do different. But then that's not the kind of dishonest politics we want anymore, is it?
No, we want to move forward. Exactly what you said, move forward into a new light where people are clear and transparent with one another. So you know what you're getting, you know what you're voting for is going to count. Yeah. That's why typically people would say I would be from that background that would vote Labour, but also, age range and socio-economic background. And just like everybody else, I voted that people would not think I would vote, and I voted for something different rather than all this craziness that's going on with formerly Jeremy Corbyn dying.
So Labour, so Lisa, Labour need to get you back, don't they?
Yeah, I mean, I've never voted for them anyway, but I just feel like there's a stereotyping that I should vote for them being from a working class background. But to be honest, what the Conservatives do and what you were fighting for as well is fantastic, to be honest.
Good. Lisa, that's very kind of you. Thank you very much indeed. Let's go to Great Grimsby, another seat, of course, that Labour lost at the election. Jamie is calling, a new caller to the show. Good evening, Jamie.
Good morning. Good evening, Nigel. Yeah.
So, are the people of Great Grimsby going to be impressed and put Melanie on, or whoever it may be, back in as Grimsby's MP on the basis that free movement returns?
No, Melanie gone. Keir Starmer's a big fail. That businesses big on immigration. It's just not what people wanted to hear. I don't think it's not really good enough, is it? I mean, it's not holding anybody to account. They're absolutely all over the place at the minute.
Well,
they haven't listened to a single word anybody said.
They've learnt nothing, Jamie, have they?
No, absolutely nothing. No, it's a fail. I mean, people go on about immigration. You had the guy calling you, said it's right wing or whatever. It's not. It's just they get them in cheaper, and they get to work longer hours for less money, and they don't complain so much. And it's people are worth more than that, and people can see it.
It's not right. The idea that I agree with you.
It's not right.
It's absolute rubbish. I mean, Layla says to me, note to Labour, nothing wrong with having control over our borders, and that's absolutely right, isn't it?
Well, look, we've got to have some control. We can't just have, people coming in taking. They go on about people saying, "Oh, you're taking people's jobs." You're not taking anybody's job. What you're doing is you're stopping the ladder. They're not going to hire someone for cheap labour when they can just sack someone and get somebody else in for cheap labour.
No.
It's not the same. It's not like it used to be anymore. It's terrible.
And Jamie, Jamie, what's your voting background?
Well, I voted Labour before, and then I went to. I was going to vote for the Brexit Party, but obviously, I voted for Conservatives.
Yeah. Well, do you know what? There's a lot of people like you.
To get Brexit done.
There's a lot of people, Jamie, like you. A lot of people like you who had been Labour, voted UKIP or Brexit Party once, and then went across to the Conservatives. And it's not just immigration, but it is a very, very big part of it. Jamie, thanks very much indeed for your call. This is the Nigel Farage Show here on LBC at 6:15. Time for the news headlines with Holly Jones.
Former film producer Harvey Weinstein has been convicted of sexual assault and rape at his trial in New York. He was cleared of 3 other charges. Financial markets have been dropping at the prospect of a potential coronavirus pandemic. Police in Germany now believe a car was intentionally driven into a crowd of people attending a carnival procession, including dozens of children. LBC weather, snow continuing to clear, leaving more scattered wintry showers for Scotland, parts of the north of England and Northern Ireland. Most of the rest of England and Wales, clearer skies and icy patches, a low of 1 degree.
LBC Travel, I'm J-Louise Knight, and it's very slow on the M25 anti-clockwise from 7 at the M23 through the roadworks to Clackett Lane services. It is improving though up towards the Dartford tunnels after an accident earlier. The A2 stop-start out of town from the Danson interchange to the Black Prince interchange as a car broke down. It's very slow on the M20 coastbound from Rootham at 2 to Leybourne at 4. That's because a car's caught fire on the opposite side. The A13 stop-start out of town from the Canning Town flyover to the Lodge Avenue flyover, and on the tube, minor delays on the whole of the Bakerloo line. That's after the earlier strike. And on the trains, a signal failure means delays of 25 minutes on South Eastern from Charing Cross to London Bridge.
Coming up at 7 on LBC, Ian Dale.
Our Monday night panel at 8 will be looking at extremism and radicalisation, and at 9, should Julian Assange be extradited to the US?
Ian Dale on LBC.
Hey, have you heard? The Mayor of London has launched his latest van scrappage scheme to help tackle London's toxic air. Small businesses or sole traders like me with a polluting van could now get £7,000, which you could use to trade up to a Euro 6 vehicle. And you could get an extra £2,500 towards running costs if you go electric. The scheme is now even easier to qualify for, and it's open to any businesses with up to 50 employees, like mine. So, I'm going to search TfL Scrappage to see if I'm eligible and apply. You should do the same. To the Mayor of London and TfL, every journey matters.
Sheila from Birkdale writes, I arrived at yours with such excitement. You looked and smelled phenomenal. We drove to the beach. We found a secluded spot, and then after 5 minutes, you were all gone. Your 2 juicy patties, crisp lettuce, onions, cheese, and Big Mac sauce. Finished.
You can now spend even longer with the taste you love with the Grand Big Mac, but only until the 24th of March. Served after 11 a.m, subject to availability, participating restaurants only.
Hi, I'm Alex Reed, and I'm here to tell you about my new podcast, Time to Talk. Here, we talk about the things we don't talk enough about, from mental health, masculinity, love, and wellness. And I'll have a variety of special guests to join the conversation.
Where the hell is emotional fitness? Let's just balance those two.
Listen wherever you get your podcasts.
Keep coming. Yeah, bit more.
At Hey Car, you'll find the best used cars all in one place. Every car is quality checked and comes with a warranty. So finding your perfect used car is easy. You just need somewhere to park it.
Back. Whoa. Yeah, great. Stop.
To find your perfect used car, search Hey Car.
3, 2, 1, lift off!
What have you done with my OCT eye scanner? I'm supposed to be doing an eye scan with Mrs. Green.
We launched it, like you said.
Well, I meant launch it to the public, not on a rocket.
Oh.
Tell them how it takes a hospital-grade 3D image that could help detect eye conditions up to 4 years earlier.
Oh, sugar.
And that it's available at Specsavers.
Oh, and now also in outer space.
Introducing our most advanced eye exam with OCT scans. Search Specsavers OCT to find out more. Charge applies. OCT available at selected stores.
Coffee shop, cashback, cat flaps, cashback, beanbags, rucksack, hire car, buy a car, flapjack, cashback, dumbbells, cashback, takeaway, holiday to anywhere the sun is at, bum bag, laptop, big match, hatchback, binge watching, paintballing, crab fishing, cashback, anything you want to buy, everywhere you want to go. Guess what? Cashback. Get cash back on whatever you buy with no annual fee. Only with the American Express Platinum Cashback Everyday Credit Card. Search Amex Cashback. Representative 22.9% APR variable. Minimum annual spend to receive cashback. Terms apply. 18 plus subject to approval.
This is LBC, the Nigel Farage Show. Live from New York. Call 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Tweet at LBC using the hashtag Farage on LBC.
Well, the Tyson Fury fight against Deontay Wilder over the weekend, and Fury winning back the WBC heavyweight crown, having been through all his problems of drink and drugs and goodness knows what else, really captured the imagination in the UK and here in America too. Here was Donald Trump earlier on talking about Fury.
Fight, 2 great fighters who is really very exciting. Maybe we have to bring them both to the White House. I don't know, because that was really a good one. In fact, I think we'll do that. Have a good time.
So it looks like Tyson Fury is going to be going into the Oval Office. And here was Tyson Fury's dad, John Fury, speaking this morning on Good Morning Britain.
And Donald Trump has invited him to the White House.
That's good for a Fury, isn't it? And I'm a big fan of Donald Trump.
Journey. It's
been an amazing journey. Look where it's ended. And what a great point to bow out on. A meeting in the White House.
I tell you what, be in no doubt. Tyson Fury, whatever level of fame he had last time in 2015 when he was world heavyweight champion, is as nothing. This guy is going to be a complete global superstar. And we like people who've fallen from grace and managed to redeem themselves. And I think Tyson Fury fits into that category absolutely beautifully. Now, Gareth in Wakefield makes this point. Everyone misses the idea. They bash Brexiteers as being unfair on immigrants. But actually, the truth is that this unlimited immigration is unfair on the countries that lose so many of their young workers. Gareth, in 2004, I made this point time and again in the European Parliament and elsewhere, that freedom of movement, going very quickly from being communist countries to having freedom of movement to places like the UK, would do huge damage. And just look at Lithuania, for example, which have lost between 20 and 25% of their population in the last 15 years. And that includes their young accountants, their young doctors, the kind of professionals that they need to help build a great country. It's been a disaster for many of those countries, and it's a point that does not get made enough. So what of Keir Starmer? I'm going to go to Alok, who's calling from Watford. Good evening to you.
Good evening. I think that he's made himself unelectable, but it's not just on this policy of immigration. I think it's the whole plethora of left-wing to communist policies that they've got. I mean, they've lost 4 elections in a row and they seem to have learned nothing. They keep banging their head into earth and they haven't realised that they should stop it. Hey, the other point I wanted to make was regarding immigration. I'm from originally from India, so I'm an immigrant myself, but I actually think that long-term immigration is actually not good for the economy, and I'll tell you why. Cheap immigration I'm talking about, getting cheap labour in. Because first of all, if you get cheap labour in, you actually have to subsidise them by giving them tax credits. So that's actually a cost on the economy, which is not recognised by all these people that say that we need them for their health work. Also, the other thing is that in this country, the productivity has remained stubbornly low for a decade or more. And my own view is that this is due to the fact that we keep getting migrant labour to actually, the business are getting those because it's cheap, good for them, but they're not investing in people or in technology, which means that we're falling further behind. I saw a YouTube video the other day where in India, in Bangalore, they're teaching kids with robots, like a cyber robot. I mean, the whole world is changing and we've got to change with it. And if we're just hooked on this cheap immigration, it's not going to end very well for us.
Alec, I agree with you. I've made this productivity point many, many times, although Keir Starmer says that salary thresholds are not the right measure of the worth of an individual coming to the country. But, that's where Labour took us last time. They've learnt nothing. But I think your points are right. I think this over-reliance on cheap labour has not been good for the economy, whatever people in London might tell you. Alec, thank you very much indeed. I'm going to Jason in Edgware, a new caller. Jason, good evening.
Good evening, Nigel. Congratulations on Brexit.
Well, thank you. I'm very happy about it, I must say.
I am. I'm originally from Rotherham.
Yes.
And I think Keir Starmer, it's just a bit of a joke, really. I mean, what a disastrous election! And all he's got to do is, get out of London, go up the M1 for 2.5 hours, and actually go and talk to these people and see why Labour lost. And they've not done that. It's just London-centric policies again and again, and they're never going to get those Labour heartlands back.
Do you remember when Gordon Brown, and it was in Rochdale, I think, wasn't it, a few years ago, in the 2010 election, and Gordon Brown met that woman, Gillian Duffy, and she said to him, well, how come there are all these huge numbers of people here from Eastern Europe? And then afterwards in the car, asked about it, he said, she was just some horrible old bigoted woman. It sort of sums up, and I don't think Labour have moved on, Jason.
Yeah, well, if they've moved on, then they're never going to win an election and they're not going to get those seats back in the north, I'm afraid.
No, do you know what?
It's such a shame. And
Jason, have you been a Labour voter over the years?
Yes, I'm actually an ex-member of the Labour Party, and just when basically the entire Parliamentary Labour Party just said we want to remain, I thought, no, it's not the party for me, because I'm sort of got socialist values, but where I'm from, we're sort of socialist, but with conservative traditional values in a sense, if you know what I mean. And Labour just totally walked away from it all. So
there are a lot of Labour voters are actually socially quite conservative, and it's something.
Correct.
It's something the North London intellectuals simply don't get. Great call, Jason. Great call. Thank you very much indeed for that. We're heading up to the northeast to speak to David in Newcastle, who's a new caller. David, good evening.
Good evening. Thank you very much, Nigel. Thanks for everything you've done. I'll be very quick. Please promote Newcastle upon Tyne, because you never hear it on the radio. You don't even see it on the weather map. Anyway, I just want to say...
Well, I've got you on. I've got you on, David. We're not, we're not blocking you. So come on, extol the virtues of Newcastle while you're on.
Right, well, I think Keir Starmer and Labour are playing the long game.
Mm-hmm.
I think them are going right through this globalist thing. I've been watching TV shows like Picard and all these War of the Worlds and all the rest of it, and a lot of it's all this anti-masculine, anti-borders, minority identity politics and stuff like that. I think them know. What you're saying is you're sort of having an argument for the next 5-10 years. I think Labour are setting themselves up for the next 20-30 years in the future. And that's
a long time, David.
But the thing is, you tell me, you look at all these TV shows now, it is just constant. I want equality and I want fairness. But there is an agenda. And I think what Labour are doing is they're just playing the game and they're just going to sit back as sort of university sort of people shouting from the background. They don't want to be in charge. But what they'll do is they're just sitting around and playing the game, this globalist agenda of anti-masculinity, of, sort of like anti-borders.
But if that's the case, David, they've got no chance in 5 years, have they?
No, not in 5 years, no. I think they're going for the next 10, 15 years. I don't think they're that interested just now.
All right, fair enough. David, I'm going to let you go. Okay, one last caller, very quickly. Michael in Hull, a new caller. Michael, good evening.
Good evening, Nigel. I must say, I don't agree with everything that you're about, but I have massive respect for you.
Well, that's kind of you, Michael. Thank you. Now, do you have respect for Keir Starmer, suggesting that we turn back the clock and go back to pre-Brexit Britain?
No. Not at all. It's a mandate from the people with Brexit, and I think they're just digging the grave deeper of the Labour Party, I would say. They're making themselves unelectable. I think the Labour leader competition, it's an exercise in female privilege, I would say, and this goes in with all the cultural Marxist sort of ways to go about things. But I think it's strange as a man from the north, you feel like a scab, not voting for Labour. You feel like breaking the picket lines, but
it's changing. It's changing, Michael. It's changing fast, Michael. I can love you and leave you. Very interesting. A lot of those calls we had tonight from people who have come from Labour families who Keir Starmer is not going to win back with supporting free movement. It is just as simple as that. I'm back tomorrow at 6. At 10 tonight, it's Tom Swarbrick. Right now, it's Ian Dale.
Nigel, thank you very much. Well, WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange's extradition hearing started today at Woolwich Crown Court. The US government alleges that he put lives at risk by sharing unredacted files and that he was guilty of straightforward criminality by hacking into and publishing US military databases. Is this a case where free speech and exposing government wrongdoing should trump any concerns about law breaking and putting national security at risk? In short, I'm going to be asking you at 9, do you believe Julian Assange should be